Hello and welcome to the Good Buddies Anime Review. I am your good buddy Brandon.
And I am your good buddy Roger.
And we here?
We here, dude.
We talking about it?
We're reviewing High Score Girl this week.
Which is not a pretty rad little show on Netflix. Just came out for us on, well, it was
Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Actually it was on there like earlier that year.
Yeah.
Like was whenever it was released. But hey, that's when we got it and we're talking about it now. And you know what? Pretty good.
Pretty good. I actually really loved it.
Yeah, I know you did. You put it on your top 5.
I'm going to have to like try not to gush so hard over this anime to give it a fair review. You know, and not just put the blinders on and oversell it or anything for somebody that might not enjoy it as much. But I quite love this anime. And I'll tell you, my anxiety up to this point, I was like, Brandon's gonna shit all over this anime and it's gonna break my heart.
I'm not gonna shit on it.
To me, so far, it sounded like you're not going to, but I really liked it. I'm glad you liked it, dude. We're going to review it. Do you want to tell them how we review things here?
What we're gonna do here is we're gonna do this on a 10-point scale, and we're gonna end up giving it a final score. And let's talk about those final scores.
Yeah, it's a review of recommendations.
Yes,
it's
like
not
would
so
we
much the series.
Yeah. It's like how did we feel about it, and would we recommend it to someone else? So Roger, let me ask you: if you were talking to a buddy, talking about some animes, and your friend, whoever they are, brought up a show, and you thought it was just terrible, what would you call that?
Ooh, I'd call it an anime, maybe not.
What if it's not great, but it was all right? I mean,
I would say that's an anime.
What if it was pretty average? It was
actually
decent.
Good. Like I enjoyed it. It's an anime, maybe.
What if it was actually quite nice? It was really well done, actually.
Oh yeah, that's an anime, most definitely for me.
But if it was amazing, if it was damn near perfect,
boss, let me tell you, that's an animazing.
It's animazing.
It's animazing.
And the way we're gonna get there is we're going out of 10 stars. We got a little room there for, you know, some halvesies and whatnot. But basically, we're gonna rate it on 5 different things, 2 stars apiece. Number 1, Roger, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the story and setting.
Number 2, 2 stars.
The characters and the development.
Number 3,
art and animation.
Number 4,
that soundtrack.
And the 5th one, that Good Buddies Wiggle Room. We call that the
je ne sais quoi.
The je ne sais quoi. Roger, what does that mean?
I don't know what.
I don't know what. But that's how we're going to do it. We're going to break it on down. We're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to try to keep it relatively spoiler-free. We will get into some spoilers a little bit in the ramble after the main review.
Yeah, that's what we try to do these reviews. You know, not only are we trying to recommend something, but we don't want to, in these initial reviews, not to spoil anything, but if you have finished the series and you do want to hear more, we do a ramble after this, and it comes up, if you're on YouTube, it comes up one day after this releases. It's called the ramble of whatever. It'll have a very similar thumbnail and it'll say ramble right on it.
And if you listen to the podcast, you're gonna hear it anyway.
You're gonna get it all.
There you go. But let's get on into it, man. Let's start. Give me a little basic breakdown.
Okay, so this is in a I guess it's a smaller city in Japan.
They don't really name it, do they?
Yeah, I don't think so. I couldn't find it.
I didn't notice.
If they did, it was so passable because it doesn't really matter where it is.
Definitely doesn't say it on the Wikipedia page.
No, it doesn't. But it is in the arcade boom in the 90s, the early 90s in Japan.
Street Fighter 2.
Particularly the fighting game.
Yes.
Yeah, Street Fighter 2 has released, and my boy is excellent at Street Fighter.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, I would it's definitely a 90s, I described it as a 90s romantic comedy that just brimming with that old school video game nostalgia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of a good romantic comedy that I liked a whole lot.
Oh God,
there's so many good ones.
Here we go.
We'll say my love story. I quite enjoyed that one.
Okay.
That's a good romantic comedy.
If
you mix that
with a bunch of video games,
with Scott Pilgrim, and maybe Wreck-It Ralph.
It had a lot. It feels like some Scott Pilgrim at times.
Yeah,
but without like fighting evil exes and whatnot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But Yaguchi, our main character, he's excellent at Street Fighter. Now, he's in the arcade at the start of this. He's whooping a little ass.
He loves it.
He's whooping a little ass. He's eating a little cheeseburger.
Who's his main?
He uses Guile.
He loves him some Guile.
Hero.
He loves him some Guile.
Which we actually get flashes of Guile.
Yes.
Like coming out and talking to him, giving him advice in the anime, which is really great.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden somebody picks Zangief and whips his sorry ass.
Just destroys him until he starts going a little underhanded.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of people watching. They're like, will this kid ever freaking lose? And when he loses, everybody's lining up to play this girl, and she's beating everybody. She's almost on a 30-win streak. Yaguchi has entered several times to go back in and fight her again. And eventually, this isn't really a spoiler because this happens very early, but eventually he does beat her by using some really cheap tactics.
Really underhanded stuff.
He turtles her with guile.
Turtles her. He does the guile turtle. He does the what do you call the grab janks and whatnot. It's goofy. And the one of the fun things about this show that we'll talk about a little bit more is that they actually take the time to pause and be like, guile turtling is a thing where blah blah blah.
It's like whoever made this, you can tell that this is stuff that they love.
Yeah.
And they know a lot about it.
There is a lot of love in this show.
If they don't, they put a shit ton of research into it.
Yeah, they definitely faked it well. There's a lot of love in here, though.
Because I can see somebody making this anime and having this idea, and, you know, there are things that are missable. And we'll get into this in the animation and stuff like that. But they just add so many extra little things that they didn't have to that make it a little bit more special.
Yeah.
But he's getting beat by Ono. She is super rich.
She's the best
super
girl.
Super popular. She is super mute.
She does not speak at all.
Yeah,
and she's his class's best girl, quote unquote.
He would have no idea. He would never thought that she would be in such a place like that.
Yeah. He can't believe that she's actually playing these games and whipping ass at him.
And nobody would believe it at all.
No.
And
in fact,
from
nobody
there,
does believe it when they...
And from there, a somewhat of a spiky friendship forms between the two.
Yeah, eventually it becomes...
Yeah, you really, these characters start growing close, and actually I really started to like these characters.
Yeah.
Especially for the way they handled a mute character, a character that doesn't say a damn thing. I really appreciate that they managed to go that far with it.
Meh.
Brandon's man it, but we'll find out about that later.
So that's the basic story and saying it's about these people, and other characters jump in, but let's talk about those characters in development.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about Yaguchi, but we'll go a little more on him.
I hated him at first. I hate him so much.
Dude, he's
such a little dick.
He's a little pompous douche because he has one thing.
He has one thing he's good at. He's such a little gatekeeper fucking jerk. He's just like, this girl coming in here to my inner sanctum of video games, and I hate him.
The way they draw.
Now let's talk about this real quick, because this is one thing we don't talk about in story and setting, is that's how the show starts. They are literally children in they're like
6th
10.
grade.
They're like 10, 12 years old. Okay, without getting too spoilery, it progresses from there, and by the last few episodes, they are in high school. So you do actually see these characters grow, not only physically and in age, but as people, which I thought was really good, because if they had stayed in elementary school, that kid was insufferable and I hated him.
Yeah, well, and he also didn't have any friends before then, too, and it kind of gave you a reason why.
And he was kind of just
really
a jerk.
Showed off kind of as his first friend.
Yeah.
And when he did that bullshit, she would knock the shit out of him.
She does slap him around a lot, so that's one thing.
It is great. There's a good slapstick.
It is
in there.
very cartoony, the slapstick. Yes, like they slap each other out. There's a bit where like she like straight up grabs an entire half of his face. Yeah. And is like pulling the skin off his skull, and then she like breaks away, and he's just got a big scratch on his face. And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Now, that came at a critical part too.
Yes, it's absolutely absurd.
And
it's very slapstick.
I want to note his little spiky teeth, dude. I
hate the spiky teeth.
I love the little fangy teeth.
I hate it. They're so ugly.
I love them, dude.
I really... that's good. That's a talk for art and animation, but he has these little spiky teeth, and they all have these little lines around
them, though. It's just like whenever he's being kind of an ass.
Like, yeah, like he gets this little
he's
face.
Devilish, yeah.
Yeah, he's getting all impish.
Yeah. And then we of course have Akira Ono, who once again she comes from a wealthy family.
Super adorable. Tends to have the same facial expression, but she does like she's fairly expressive. I don't think personally I didn't find it expressive enough.
I thought I pretty much caught on to almost everything that they wanted you to catch on to.
But there were like several points where like there was at least one in particular, I want to say in like episode 3, where he like asks her a question and she just has that same expression. She's not doing anything different, and I'm just like,
Well, Brandon obviously wanted an answer to that question.
No, it was just like it just didn't make any sense to me. Like,
okay.
They do things where like she'll have a different face or she'll have like a different expression or whatever. But there were certain points where they just didn't, and it was like nothing. She just had this blank look that meant nothing. The thing that I liked about it is how she also, when she doesn't talk, despite not just her facial expression and movements, she also expresses herself through the games. Like they're playing Final Fight and Dude'll do something and she'll just walk over there and smack him because that's a thing you can do in the game.
Yeah.
She like hits him in the game or she'll do this or that in the game to like get her point across.
I think I agree with you, dude, and I'm not going to try. I'm really going to do my best not to, because I really did love this and not to try to override you.
You're going to geek out a little bit.
But I think they do enough where, I mean, surely you could see where they were able to squeeze some emotion.
There's definitely parts. Yeah. There's parts, particularly like there's some very obvious parts. But
and then I do want to mention one other character who comes in heavier in episode 4, Hidaka. Yeah.
Hidaka ends up being a huge part of the show. Even though she's not introduced until
her father owns a liquor store.
Yeah.
And kids can't go into liquor stores, but I'll tell you what they can do. If you put those little candy cabinets outside, the kids
sure
will
as hell
come.
will play on those. Yeah, so she ends up, of course, our boy Yaguchi, Haru, he ends up like hanging out and playing on these little games and whatnot and making a new friend, etc., etc.
Yeah, and she just starts off and she just likes to watch.
Yeah.
She's your backseat, you know, like I just wanna watch you play, and sometimes that's fun to do, and that's.
I mean, look at all these. You literally run a Let's Play. Of course, it's fun to watch people play.
It's fun to watch, and actually Corey does most of the playing, so I do most of the watching.
Wow. But like that is a thing that without getting too spoilery, she does end up getting into it a little bit more.
Yeah. However, she does have some sort of at least a hidden talent towards.
Yeah, she ends up like just by button mashing our boy who's watching her play Street Fighter. He like gets her to play it just by button mashing, like literally watching the controller she's playing. She's doing like the corkscrews.
Yeah, he's like noob moves. She actually they show off the Mortal Kombat cabinet or whatever, and she pulls off a fatality, and his mind is blown.
His brain, he has to scrape him off the ceiling. He can't believe it. There's also like a pretty good cast of like supporting characters that don't do as much. There's like a goofy kid in their school who's like in love with Ono, and he's got the little dark sparkles around him. Doei, yeah. There's the very weird girl who has a heavy lisp.
Onizuka.
Holy shit.
The very first word she says in this anime, I'll spoil it for you now.
Yes,
in case you miss it. She says penis. Is a very penis.
What she does is they're like, without like going too deep into it, they like end up going on like a group date or whatever because Doei's trying to get close to Ono because he loves her or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, I'll ride the Ferris wheel with you. And while we're up there, I can check your penis to see if it really has a bone in it." And I'm like, "What the?"
She's curious to know if that penis has a bone in it or not.
And he's just like, "Of course it doesn't," and he's like running away. It's like that's the thing. Like until then, I was like, "Oh, this is like some cutesy shit." Like like a little kid could watch this if they were into video games. And then it was like penis, and I was like, "Okay, maybe not."
Okay, there's some good little jokes. It doesn't get over the top with it, but it you know. It's gonna kind of knock out some of the younger audience.
Like that's really like that's also like the only time there's like 2 moments I think that both involve her.
Yeah, if you see her, that's whenever it generally happens.
That's the thing. She's like a little gremlin and she's going through her touchy face and she wants to learn all about the boys. And it's like Jesus.
Another good character is Meow.
Meow's awesome.
Who you know at one moment in the series pulls off the ultimate friend move.
Yeah, he's a sweet boy.
He's a really good guy.
He's also very handsome, and everybody loves him.
Yeah, it takes a little bit for him to kind of Yaguchi to warm up to Meow.
Yeah. But they end up being like they're pretty good friends.
And then the other character I would like to mention is Nami Yaguchi. His mom.
His mom is amazing. She's my favorite part.
I freaking love her.
She's the best part of the show.
She brings out them fat stacks of pancakes. The big fat pancakes. She's like, it's like the pancakes in the manga.
Yeah, exactly. And then like she's like watching him in his room, like through the crack, and like like moving around and shit.
Yeah.
That's like the best. Oh,
she's just waiting for her son to bloom into something.
Yeah.
And she goes, beautiful. She actually is a good mom too. I like that because there's a situation where, you know, like it would take a pretty understanding and respectful mom to be like, hey, yeah, go ahead and do this. I'm going to help you out in this situation. And I actually appreciated that they didn't make her just a funny character. They made her a mom.
And I do want to mention one thing about these characters that is slightly spoilery maybe. I don't think so. But it's something I didn't immediately pick up on, but reading like people's thoughts and stuff, it's something that I realized, oh shit, they're absolutely right. It's not just these characters, it's their characters, who they play in the game. Because Haruo loves him some Gao. He loves him some charge characters. They're all about holding back and like having like, you know, getting ready to do something, perhaps turtling like he's always talking about. Whereas Ono, per her personality, goes for these Punisher types. If you fuck up, she will destroy you.
Yep.
Like you can't mess around. Meanwhile, later on, Hidaka, we see her playing these more technical type characters who are all about movement and forcing you to be where they want you to be and whatnot. And I don't mean a whole lot now, but if you watch the show, you're gonna be like, oh,
it's a very good touch.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's something I didn't catch on at all, and then I've read that and I was like, oh snap, that's really cool. That was a cool moment. Let's talk about that art and animation, my dude.
The art and animation. Okay,
it's fully CG.
This is the elephant in the room. It's fully the damn CG. Yeah,
I didn't care for it,
and I figured you wouldn't. What I will say,
it did grow on me. It got to a point where I did like it.
I will say for CG, it's pretty serviceable.
It's pretty good, yeah. It's decent. They still look very clunky sometimes. Particularly the first couple episodes, I was like, ugh. But then later on, I got used to it. I guess it grew on me.
Whenever we get to our scores or whatever, as much as I did like the art and animation to the show, I didn't give it a perfect 2.
Yeah, there's a couple moments where like they will do some really wild stuff. There's one moment in particular I remember. I can't remember exactly what was happening, but he was freaking out over a game or something, and like it cuts to this shot where you just see like this like what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Like the silhouette of him standing there over the game.
Oh,
like,
is it just where his eyes are glowing and all the crazy colors?
And there's like a giant eye in the sky staring down at him. Like that was a crazy shot, and it looked awesome.
It really did.
And I was like,
there are a few scenes in there like this, and maybe it would have looked better as a traditional 2D or whatever, but they went with it the way they went.
Yeah.
And I think they did a serviceable enough job on it. However, I will note that it is rigid in some spots.
There's bits where it's
not
very rigid.
Perfectly polished. No.
It's not perfect. It's decent. It's serviceable. I will say this, that like I just famously don't care for the CG. I have had a lot of people tell me like, hey, you need to check out this show that has like really good CG. What the hell is it called? Land of the Lustrous. Have you seen that one?
I have not yet.
I hear it's amazing, so I guess I need to check that out. But I famously just not a big fan of the CG.
Yeah,
and also those faces and stuff with the spiky teeth. It's not just
the spiky
him.
Teeth.
I didn't care for the spiky teeth and the eyes, the way they look all crazy sometimes.
I like that too. I actually like any expressive nature that they gave in this show with the faces and stuff. I liked it.
They have these goofy, like sometimes like the just plain mouth for these people is just this little like this little curve on the side of it.
Yeah,
it looked like somebody dropped a hair.
That's
on the
where like,
animation,
dude, it has a very like Scott Pilgrim.
It's very deliberate, certainly.
Is very much a feeling that you get from the books too. Like that's what I related this to. It's a very Scott Pilgrim feeling, like in the books. Yeah. But done with the CG. It's not for everybody.
It wasn't like so bad I couldn't watch it. What I'm saying.
That's what I think is. That's what's really great about it, because there's a lot of CG where it's yes or no, and this is. I would say it's a solid yes.
It really is.
You can handle it.
And I realized like in the later episodes there were a few parts where like it's just these two characters sitting there talking, and those scenes I was like, well, this looks great. Like it actually looked really good to me. But like it's just when they move, it's just
yeah. Well, let's get on to that soundtrack, dude.
Best thing about the show.
It is so freaking good. It is so good. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about the opening theme first. It's called "New Stranger" by Soratab Sakana.
Just that first 10 seconds, if you're not rocking your ass off.
If you don't
have your air guitar out on those first 10 seconds, you don't have a soul.
Yeah,
you got to get with it.
And Netflix does this shitty thing where
if there's nothing before,
it'll auto-force
give you the option to
skip.
If like the episode starts with like moment and then intro, it'll give you the option to skip. If it's just the intro and then it goes into the episode, they will auto-skip it. And I was like, nope, run that bitch back.
I hate that.
That song is too cool.
Yeah, it's really good. And the overall visual of it is really nice,
It's very cool. They kind of, the opening, I think, they went a little over with just the clips from the games and stuff. I was like, meh.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, it was very good.
I like the swinging like co-op arcade machines.
That one was really cool. There's like a bit where it's like one of those like an arcade cabinet with seats on either side where you're two playing it, and like it starts with it just swinging around them, and you see the screen, and then it like it slows down, and you see the screen's gone. They're just like fighting against each other. They're looking at each other.
Yeah, that opening song, New Stranger, it rules. The ending theme is called Hokago Distraction, which means after school distraction, and it's by Etsuko Yakushimaru. Yeah, and it's really catchy
it's
too.
So chill. It's very cute. It's very chill.
And I like to call this song "Doot Doot Kittens." Because I watched this whole anime both times. I watched this twice, by the way.
No.
And both times, I'll watch later at night after my girlfriend goes to bed.
And you're sitting there with the kitty.
And so Vex watches the anime with me, my cat.
His kitten.
Most of the time, she's there watching. And that song comes on, and I'm like slapping the hell out of her. I'm like, "Doot Doot Kittens! Doot Doot Kittens! You're the worst!" And she does not care at all. But I really liked it.
I really enjoyed that stuff. I do want to say one more thing about the interstitial music and whatnot, which of the first few episodes I was like, oh, this is fine. But then they really started catching on to me, and I was like, man, this sounds pretty good. Like some of the bits in there. And then I looked it up, and I was like, well, it couldn't be bad. It couldn't possibly. Because the person doing the music for this show was Yoko Shimomura, which if you're not familiar, here's a few of Yoko Shimomura's credits. Final Fight, Street Fighter 2, Super Mario RPG, Parasite Eve, the entire Kingdom Hearts series. Homegirl knows her shit.
Yeah.
They got legit talent for that soundtrack.
Yeah, Square was definitely worked really hard on this.
Oh my god, it's so good.
And Capcom as well. You see tons of Capcom, but there is SNK and stuff like that.
There's some really good stuff.
Another thing
I liked for all those classic games, and they were like, hell yeah, get her in here.
Yeah. Another thing that I really liked is just the background noise. Like if they're in an arcade or something like that,
the little sound effects. Like there's a couple bits where like she'll smack him or something, and it like plays a punch sound.
There was not a whole lot of downtime of anything that wasn't like the sound was very immersive.
With one glaring exception later on when he gets that console.
Oh yeah,
it was that hurt. They didn't have to do that. They really didn't have to do that.
Oh,
There's
man.
a bit where he gets what was it? The
Neo Geo CD?
And the load times are famously terrible. And they make you sit there while he watches this load bar.
Neo Geo CD load time.
It's like a solid 45 seconds.
And if you know anything about me, I will tell you now, I love Neo Geo stuff.
He's got a Neo Geo cabinet.
Yeah, I have an MVS2 slot in my living room. I have the Neo Geo AES. I don't have a CD. And that is because the affordable CD is that one with the awful goddamn load time.
Can't do
and
it.
there's another Neo Geo CD that does not have bad load times. But that one is so far out of my range. It's like waiting for the AES. I just had to wait for the right moment to pounce on it.
Can't be dealing with that.
But I loved it. Let's talk that je ne sais quoi, dude. This is where I can really bring out some things some touches. Those touches that this kind of could have went in art and animation, but when they show the video games and stuff on screen, it's the actual video game.
Yes, it is real.
And depending on the cabinet, they will have a rounded screen or they will have the flat screen. However that cabinet was set up, they do it legit.
They do it legit.
They have scan lines, so many touches that they didn't have to do.
Yeah.
That it comes off to me that either it's very, very, very well researched, or somebody generally knows this stuff. They love this stuff.
There's a lot of love in that series. Yes, it's very well done.
It's really, really good, and I freaking love. I also love that that the main character, he likes consoles that not everybody else likes.
Yeah,
he's into that TurboGrafx 16, which is the PC engine.
He loves the TurboGrafx 16.
He does not stop talking about the TurboGrafx 16.
The whole Dreamcast versus PlayStation, he is firmly a Dreamcast boy, and he will not accept.
I love it, dude. Like, I love that about him. I love that they put him.
At one point, he's holding up games for his Dreamcast, and he has D, which is like, holy shit, dude. Really?
Yeah. That was a launch title game too.
Oh god,
he's so into. They made him feel like a gamer.
I will say that like again, it is brimming with the nostalgia. It is the kind of thing where like, if I can imagine like someone who's not super into games, or like I don't think it was ever so overwhelmingly nostalgic for these old games that like it's annoying, but I mean, that could be the case for some folks. I will say that like the little bits I really liked were the fact that he, like we said, Guile is a character in this game.
Yeah,
he is literally Haruo's like spirit guide.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's bits where like he's like, I just don't know what to do, and you just hear
Yaguchi, you gotta get up.
And, like,
are you gonna press continue?
You literally see like the continue like Guile pop up behind him. He's like, do you want me to tell you how to get through this? It's like, what?
Yeah.
And then he's like, what should I do? He's like, take a deep breath, lean back, and then sonic boom, and he just like rockets forward like he literally got hit by a sonic boom. It's so dumb. It's really good.
Another thing I really liked about this series too is that it focuses on mainly one male character and two female characters.
Mainly.
And I really like that they are the characters that play most of the games. There's a good assortment of games, by the way, but they are and the girls do not suck at the games. And they even throw in kind of these little quips here and there about guys thinking that, you know, the girls can't whip a little ass.
Again, those first few episodes, dude is such a little jackass.
Yeah.
Like he can't.
He's a child.
He is literally a child.
And later on, there are adults that
are
are like, I got beat by a girl, and I hate that, dude.
Yeah.
I hate that shit so much.
Holy shit! Fucking Overwatch this past week. Goddamn.
So I love seeing that, like, hey, we're gonna put these two characters in a giant focus, and they're gonna be excellent too, because girls are excellent at games as well as guys are. And I mean,
everybody love it.
And maybe that's passable to some people, but I like it a lot. I thought it was really great, and it's worth mentioning. But let's go ahead.
Are we ready to break it down?
Onto the scores, unless you have any more Je ne sais quoi, dude.
Not really, man. Again, it's a real nostalgia trip, which I honestly for a while thought that would get annoying to me, that it was like such a nostalgia trip, but it really never did.
Yeah,
there were a couple parts where I was like, but it never really broke me.
Make a perfect window to that era.
I think it was good.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I will go ahead and say that there are a couple scenes in there too that are very emotional. It's really good, but we'll get to that more in the ramble.
Sure.
Because there's one scene in particular that almost killed me.
Okay, here's one thing, though. I don't think it's too big a spoiler. Ends on a big fat cliffhanger.
Yes, but there is more coming
There's
out.
OVAs coming, I believe, in March.
13, 14, and 15.
Yeah, 3 episodes. They're called Extra Levels. So...
And if
you could have just gave that to us Netflix. It came out last year, last year.
And I'm thinking that this anime, especially now seeing so many people talk about it, that it's going to do pretty well, and it will probably get greenlit for at least some more episodes.
Yeah, they'll
finish out the run of the manga at the very least.
I'm into it. Let's hit those scores. All right, story and setting. What'd you give it?
I gave it 2 points.
I gave it 1.5.
1.5.
Characters and development.
I gave it 1.5 points.
I also went 1.5 on that one. How about that art and animation?
I gave it 1.5 points.
I gave it a 1. And how about the music?
2.
Full 2. And the je ne sais quoi.
The je ne sais quoi. I gave it 1.5 points on.
I went 1.5 as well.
I felt like, as much as I really did love this, if you don't like video games, if you don't like that older style of stuff, if you're only into the newer games or whatever, then at the end of the day, all you really have here is a romantic comedy between some kids. Which it's a very good one. I liked it a lot.
I thought it was decent.
But the video games are what sets this apart from everything else, to me.
Sure.
Along with the characters and the odd choice for animation. But I went ahead and knocked off the 0.5 or whatever, just to be fair and try and find to say that there could be an audience that this isn't for.
Try and pretend you're being like, you know.
Break my heart though if this isn't for you. I'll just say that. It came out down to 8.5 points for me. This is a high and most definitely low animazing. It's below Bunny Girl last couple.
Came up to 7.5 for me.
7.5.
Pretty
so
good.
That's an Animos definitely for you.
Yeah, man, it's decent. It's a middling Animos definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the basics of it. We will talk a little bit more about it in the ramble, but for right now we are done with the review. And so I would like to say, hey good buddies, love y'all.
Yeah.
And why don't you leave us a comment, subscribe, check out some more stuff on the Rapid Kick Media YouTube, and or subscribe to this here podcast.
Yep.
Like it, leave a comment, whatever. We'll have the full plugs at the end of the ramble if you want to make it all the way to that. But for right now,
yeah. If you're on YouTube, look above. You'll see that we're reviewing Bloom Into You next week. Brandon's super excited. I'm really excited. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
I really like that show.
Thank you so much, good buddies. You guys take it easy. We'll see you next week. And if you're on the YouTube page, we'll see you tomorrow in the Ramble.
We'll see you around, guys.
Thank you guys for all the comments and love you've been giving. We really appreciate that.
Heck yeah.